Happy Saturday, everybody. Welcome to another entry here at the Manly Battleships YouTube channel. I'm Mr. Panda.
And I'm Rockstar.
And we're going to be doing two things today. Two big things. The first of which is we're going to be drinking Pocari Sweat. I love Pocari Sweat. This is going to be great. The second thing we're going to be doing is, as we drink the Pocari Sweat, we're going to talk about Spiderman and Disney Plus going forward. So first and foremost, the most important thing on this video, Pocari Sweat, here we go.
To Spider-Man not being in the MCU anymore. Being put in the corner.
What I always say about Pocari Sweat is that it tastes like lemon lime Gatorade if they took out the flavoring.
It tastes like lemon lime Gatorade, sure, but if you added like salt or something, there's something in there that's really weird.
There's less salt in here than there's in Gatorade.
No, I believe you. It's just, it still tastes like they added a whole shit ton of salt.
Good old Pocari Sweat brought out as a novelty product for workout drinks. And now you can find it occasionally in the United States. Actually, fun fact, I used to prefer getting it in cans, but those are kind of hard to find these days for some reason. Probably because, shipping costs and all that.
Yeah.
This is not the biggest bottle they make of Pocari Sweat. I bought a bottle of Pocari Sweat that's as large as the largest container of Fiji water.
Oh.
It's just like
pretty massive.
And I was like, oh, how much is this? Oh, I want this. This is mine. So now I have a bunch of Pocari Sweat that has to get drank at some point. In any event, ladies and gentlemen, Spider-Man. Very sad, right, to hear that it's leaving the MCU, at least for the foreseeable future. What's that all about? Wow. Waster. You're the reason the rainforest is burning. You're the reason that our environment is in the current state that it's in.
I actually dislike wasting stuff, which is why I gave it to the person who I knew would drink it.
Your germs are in it.
I feel like Sony doesn't even know what they're doing. Like, they think just because Marvel made 2 good movies, they can now run it on their own without any producer, runner, or any of the MCU stuff that goes with it. It seems like a really bad financial move for everybody.
I mean, I think that the part that surprised me the most was not that it happened. It's that subsequent to the announcement, there's actually been a little bit of a rebound in the memes, if you will, where people are coming back to Sony's side. Because of, comments made by Stanley's daughter about how Disney execs treated Stanley. And then also all this thing about, Sony pays to make the movie. And then Disney gets 5% but also gets the merchandise rights. And they actually made more money technically than they did. Which is fine, except that, I don't know if really Sony has a moral high ground here since they picked up the rights to Spider-Man in bankruptcy court and have just been sitting on it ever since.
And honestly, not doing it justice. How many movies do they have to go through poorly before we actually get something good?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Spider-Man Far From Home was a $1 billion movie, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I get that
How many $1 billion movies has Sony made lately?
I get that Sony recently made, if you think about their animation arm, they did make Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
True.
Sure, you made that profitable. You made a really good Spider-Man movie. Congratulations. You made, if we think about video games, Sony for PlayStation, they have a really good Spider-Man game. Great for you. You made Venom really good. That doesn't mean you can now take something that is rooted in the MCU and now make that profitable just because you made a whole bunch of other things with the Spider-Man stuff profitable.
Yeah, and furthermore, I get it. I get that the idea of the Disney monolith isn't everyone's picture of a perfect world. Okay, I get it, but they were offering to co-fund the movie.
Yeah.
So even if, and I'll be honest, I don't know all the details about how money goes from where when Sony has the distribution rights, but it's Marvel co-producing the film with another company. I do know that co-financing was part of the deal. So Disney was going to pay for half the movie anyway. And they're already the creative force for the last 2 movies. So
it seems like it would have been more profitable to keep him in the MCU. Because now we have to think, well, if you're going to take Tom Holland, how are you going to make a movie in which we all recognize Tom Holland as the MCU Spider-Man and not connect them to the MCU? Or are you going to break contract with him and reboot the whole thing, which What are we gonna do? Watch Uncle Ben die a 4th time, for Christ's sake?
I mean, I wouldn't put it past Sony to do it.
Disney being a monopoly on, like, Star Wars and all of their own franchises and Pixar and Hulu, if you think about it, and now Fox properties, on top of the Marvel properties, I can get why people are like, they hold too many things.
But at the same time, like, as much as the whole concept of an evil Disney kind of looms over everything, we talk about this with Google all the time. I feel like the long run, Disney tends to come out ahead for a lot of properties. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm as tired as everyone else with the whole live-action remake things. But, in fairness to Disney, y'all are making sure that they make money off those films despite the problems.
And actually,
so that's not my fault, and that's certainly not their fault that you're willing to buy the tickets.
And actually, if you think about the way that rights and movies and how things get funded, if you really like indie darlings and you really want those to make money, sometimes it's the Lion King shit that makes that profitable. Somebody has to fund these indie movies, and sometimes it's people who have a lot of money that they just could spend it on anything because they made more than enough to make up for the movie. And not only that, but Lion King had a very special technology that they made. Virtual reality camera, which sounds ridiculous for the film, but what if we get a really amazing movie down the line because somebody made that technology possible in movies?
John Carter and the Lone Ranger didn't get sequels because not enough of you bought tickets. So really, the power is literally in your hands. Disney doesn't make movies to not make money.
It's not like they're thinking of Return to Jafar for no reason. Aladdin made a lot of money to the point where it's Will Smith's most profitable movie. Let that sink in. It's Will Smith's most profitable movie, Aladdin. The man who has given us decades of movies. Clearly, someone is paying for this.
I'm telling you, it's from Cave of Wonders to the damn carpet ride. That's what made the money. That's what I'm convinced, because there wasn't anything else going on, let me tell you. I did have an interesting theory, actually, about this whole debacle that they're currently in the middle of. And there's still a possibility that they're going to fix it, because that's how corporates are. They're like, oh, we're not doing that. Oh, yeah. We fixed that. I mean, no one envisioned Spider-Man coming over to Disney in the first place, and that still happened.
Yeah.
So you'll recall at the end of the last Spider-Man movies, Far From Home.
Oh, are you about to go into spoilers?
Yeah, this part's spoilers, so there'll be tags. Just skip if you don't want to talk about the end credit scene of Far From Home. Here we go. At the end credit scene of Spider-Man Far From Home, it's obvious that Spider-Man has been outed as essentially a criminal, and it is heavily implied that despite all reason, people are going to believe that for some reason. Because it's like, dun, dun, dun! Here's the thing. I'm starting to wonder if that was tied to Disney expecting problems with Spider-Man licensing going forward. Because if you think about it, between that and the whole Black Monkey thing, I'm starting to wonder if Disney was like, oh yeah, we're going to pitch this to Sony, and they're probably going to say no, but we really want this to go this way from now on. So what if they still have a backup plan for Tom Holland with the expectation that, yeah, we probably weren't going to be able to get Spider-Man licensed for another film or two. And then maybe down the road we can do it once we prove we can still make money. Because Tom Holland could still appear in the films as long as they don't call him Spider-Man. And I imagine Peter Parker. So they could just call him Peter for the whole film, and that would be silly, but it's one way to do it. He could just operate as a standalone character, because like if it's canonically impossible for him to appear as Spider-Man, there are other ways they could work him into the film and just not say his name.
The Witness Protection Program?
Oh, dude, that meme was funny. There's a really great meme going around now though, where someone was proposed like, oh yeah, well, since Deadpool might be able to come to the MCU now because of the Fox acquisition, oh yeah, Nick Fury comes in, and Deadpool's just like, oh hey, Nick Fury. And then he just sees Tom Holland on the couch. He's like, Parker, is this where you've been the whole time? Shh, you can't say his name. He's in the Sony Witness Protection Program. And then you see Tobey Maguire walks behind Nick Fury eating a bowl of cereal. And then from out in the kitchen, Andrew Garfield shouts, does anyone want toast? Which I think would be amazing and is very, very in line with Deadpool as a character, so you should probably consider that Disney, if nothing
That would
else.
be hilarious.
So this ties into a bigger discussion, because Disney is not having just this problem. They're looking to go independent for streaming purposes, and with a lot of their new content, that's where they're looking to just do it exclusively. So Disney Plus is coming out pretty soon.
Uh-huh.
And I will not lie, I do not personally feel warm to the situation, but my stock portfolio doesn't mind too much. So, that being said, Disney Plus, do we see subscription potential going forward? Because they got a whole bunch of new stuff coming out, and we're just going to ignore all the Star Wars stuff like The Mandalorian for the moment. We got
WandaVision. Well, I don't know why they called it that.
WandaVision.
Loki.
We got
Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
And then we have the What If series, and I'm sure there's other ones like that they have going on too.
Yeah.
Especially because a lot of the stuff is still going on Hulu, and they already have stuff on Hulu that's Marvel, like Cloak and Dagger.
And between that and what their roadmap is for the new films in the MCU, I guess the primary concern that you mentioned before we started is that some people are wondering if they're going to have to get a Disney Plus subscription to keep tabs on the MCU.
Which, yes and no. I mean, it sounds like what's going to happen is because Hulu already has a whole bunch of their adult, like, or at least PG-13 like stuff, they're going to have most of the Marvel stuff on Hulu, so as long as you have Hulu, you should be fine. If you wanted the Star Wars stuff, I assume you actually need a Disney Plus, but, like, then they're doing this cable thing, which is, I mean, it's very reminiscent to the old cable bundling stuff, where it's like, hey, if you get Disney Plus, you'll get Hulu with ads. With ads. Really? And ESPN Plus, because, you know, the people who want Hulu, it feels like one of those old cable packages where you had to get all these entertainment stuff, and then it's like, but you get all these sports channels, but I don't want the sports channels. Too bad!
First, the appeal of streaming was it was just a convenience thing.
It was a convenience thing.
Then it allows you to kind of fine-tune your entertainment package, which was the original argument against, you know, cable companies. Because it's like, I have to buy this to get what I want, instead of just picking and choosing what I want. So, I'll give you that. But now, between the bundling and just how far they're willing to just chop up the services, it looks like, I'm not feeling warm to this at all.
No.
I don't...
I feel like at the end of the day, you're going to end up paying the same price you would with cable. Now it's just your
on top of an internet feed.
Yeah. So I'm not really fond of that. But I'm also not promoting piracy, even though there are a lot of
Well, we would
memes.
never do that.
There's a lot. I love the memes about how it's like, well, I can't get what I want because cable packaging is too pricey. So, hello, friend, we're going to go pirate these. And then it's like, oh, streaming. I don't have to do that anymore. I can legitimately pay. And now it's... The bubble's about to burst, and hello, my old friend.
I mean, like, there's other issues that come up with streaming, too, as a primary content access form. They're not super prevalent yet, but it has come up in the past where they make, you know, changes to certain content because it's like, oh, well, maybe that's controversial now, so we're just going to, like, adjust that.
Netflix already started doing that with 13 Reasons Why. It's like...
Now, in fairness, that's just something simple, but it's like it starts out innocent and then it goes from there.
It was a thing, and it's always been a thing that streaming packages have, like, their own little separate packages. For instance, like with Netflix, you can pay a higher price to have 3 screens or 4 screens at the same time. I noticed something even worse with, like, YouTube TV. Remember I was talking about live services?
The only thing that
services?
YouTube ever had that I was interested in was that new Cobra Kai show. You know, the sequel to the Karate Kid movies.
Kid, yes.
Because, like, that was kind of cool. But the moment I hit the part where I had to pay, I was like, no, we're done.
No, well, here's the thing. I'm not talking about YouTube Red or you...
They don't call it that anymore because I made a joke on Twitter.
No. This is something different. YouTube TV allows you to have live access to TV shows. So, like, depending on where you live, you get certain channels.
Yeah.
Which goes back to cable and almost has cable pricings. I know this. I have a subscription.
Well, no.
It costs $45 a month just to be able to get something live. Now, it's a DVR. It records. And
Remember?
there's different packages.
Anyone out there remember Web TV? I played with a Web TV at the library back in the day. You know, the turn of the century. This is before the towers came down. Good times.
And now we're paying for it. I have a feeling eventually this bubble is going to burst and people are just not going to be able to afford streaming, and it's going to go back to the old ways of people are going to pirate more than they actually watch the show.
And they are more able to do that because, thank you, industry, you crippled the torrent system, which was basically ad-free and was entirely open source, etc. So thank you for crippling that and making everyone turn to streaming piracy, where there are ads, so you are actually losing money. You did this. Remember that.
I'm sure there's going to be some new What if we go back to DVD rentals like the old Netflix used to do?
I mean, funny story. Netflix still... I actually was reading an article just a couple weeks ago about how Netflix still has a surprising number of subscribers to their DVD service. Part of it, the article writers were talking about how they were speculating that part of the problem was people just never bothered to cancel their subscriptions. It might be. I emphasize the might because of the changing nature of consumer products. But Netflix actually has more control over content access when it goes with DVD rentals. This was the reason Netflix separated the services was because they were essentially the only game in town. So it was just made more sense to pursue the streaming.
Right.
But now that they're getting locked out, I'm honestly starting to wonder if maybe Netflix might look at recoupling the DVD service to add the appeal.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what the condition of their library is or anything like that, but if it starts coming out that you're only going to have this much on streaming, but you can still get anything you want, let's just put it in a ballpark.
DVD, yeah.
Let's say 2 DVDs out at any one time, and includes anything they can get their hands on, and there's nothing that the companies can do about it technically because the rule of first sale.
Well, you know what's the other interesting part? When I'm talking about like the subscription bubble, I've started noticing ads on my phone that have apps that will tell you, hey, by the way, did you know that you're still subscribed to like Netflix or Hulu and this and that? You might want to cancel your subscription. So it's getting to the point where I feel like what people are doing is like, well, this month I'll be Netflix and next month it'll be Hulu. Like I'll cancel my... It's like month to month.
The binge method.
Yeah, where it's like you binge whatever you want on Netflix, cut Netflix, go on to a different service the next month so that you have enough money spread out across the different places. Or you use a new email and you use their free month trial. Not that
I continue to be curious about whether or not HBO saw a significant drop after Game of Thrones went out.
Well, that's the other problem is I feel like how are we supposed to know how popular a service is if every service is keeping it under hush of how many numbers there are?
Well, there's reasons for that because they don't want the shareholders to know just how good or bad it is. And like there's
or like CBS All Access who likes to lie about Star Trek Discovery. I'm not salty. I'm not salty that you guys think that you're the number 5 most watched and streamed show because you totally aren't.
All right, well, I'm going to drink the rest of this, so I guess we're done.
Yep.
That's the Saturday video. Look for something interesting and unique next week, we hope, if we can keep to the editing schedule. Talk to you during Last Week in Geek on Monday. Bye.
Bye-bye.